Finding a great tenant can sometimes feel like discovering an oasis in the desert. It shouldn't, but it honestly becomes difficult for many landlords to consistently fill their units with good tenants that they don't have to worry about. If that sounds like you, then this video may be what you need. Here are 8 steps you can use to start finding good tenants more consistently. The first thing you need is a solid property management tool. And I'm not just saying that because I work at DoorLoop. Property management software, just like ours, is designed to make life easier for landlords to find tenants. It can help you in screening tenants directly from an app, managing the entire leasing process online, and even automatically post vacant listings on popular listing websites. On the other hand, trying to find good tenants without a property management software is extremely difficult. And while you might find what you're looking for along the way, it can be a lot easier to get lost. Alright, now whether you decide to use a rental property management software or not, the next step is to make sure people are aware of your vacancies. Obviously, right? But that means advertising your property on multiple listing websites, and your options might include Zillow, Trulia, Apartment List, Zumper, and Apartments.com. And the more sites that you list on, the more potentially awesome tenants you can find. However, these sites can get super busy in major markets, and it can be easy for your apartment listings to get lost in the noise. But one way to make your listing stand out is with 3D virtual tours, and you can set this up with a simple app and smartphone. You also want to be mindful of the different ways users tend to filter the online apartments they look at. For example, listing your unit for $1,999 instead of $2,050 will ensure you don't miss out on people who filter results with a $2,000 limit. And although that's pretty much the same thing, it will make a difference when you're trying to look for the ideal tenant. Next up, consider hosting an open house. These are a great way to find potential tenants in your area who may not have discovered your apartment online. Open houses give you the chance to see potential tenants in person before they submit an application. And naturally, that may help you understand the quality of applicants beyond the data they submit with their application. Now, we should say before hosting an open house, just make sure you're clear about your policies and rules. Knowing which rules are firm and which may have some wiggle room can help you get as much out of your showing as possible. At this point, you're ready to start accepting applications. And while you may very sincerely want to know what each application's favorite band is, it's important to put together an application that asks relevant questions. For example, including pre-screening questions is a good way to get to know your applicants before reviewing their financial data. You can also compare the answers they give in their pre-screening questions to the results they get from the background check. Any inconsistencies will be a red flag and may be a sign you're better off avoiding that tenant. Speaking of asking the right questions on your application, requesting a rental reference is a must if you want to give yourself the best chance of finding great tenants. Previous landlord reference letters allow you to learn how an applicant is as a tenant before leasing to them. Now, references often contain extra information that you won't be able to find out during your background check. You may even want to ask for an employment reference if you're concerned about the applicant's ability to pay rent. Just remember, when you're requesting the reference, make sure you're not only getting information from an applicant's friend or family member, because as you can imagine, these are rarely subjective. The next step in the screening process is to make sure that you run credit, background, and eviction checks. These provide much needed historical information about the tenant's reliability and financial well-being. Payment history and evictions are 2 items to look at. Ideally, you'd want a tenant who doesn't miss payments often and who has never been evicted. You may still choose to rent to people with these marks against them, but you need to have all the information to make an informed decision in these cases. And running these background checks is the best way to get that data. When you're making a decision as big as who to rent your property to, it's important to have a good process in place. Now, you wouldn't choose a business partner without knowing what you're looking for. That is, unless your goal was to lose money. And the same is true for potential applicants. So you need to ask yourself, what factors will you use when making these decisions? First off, you need to ensure that your process doesn't violate any state, city, or federal fair tenancy laws. Otherwise, you could face hefty fines if you discriminate. After that, you can begin comparing applicants' information with one another. Try to take emotion out of the equation as you focus on eviction history, credit scores, references, and other fact-based rental criteria. You may even want to put a policy in place, such as accepting the first qualified tenant. If you always follow a rule like this, no matter what, then it can become much more challenging for anyone to accuse you of violating fair housing laws. And that's it. You finally made it to the end of the process and you're ready to choose a tenant and sign the lease. If possible, it's a good idea to sit down with the tenant and go over the lease with them in person before finalizing things. This gives you the opportunity to point out key provisions and rules so that you're both 100% on the same page. And it's especially important to point out any rules and provisions that may have caused issues with previous tenants in the past. For example, ensure the applicant understands your pet policy and their grace period if they're late with rent 1 month. It's also a good idea to keep a copy of the lease in your tenant portal so that both you and the tenant can go back to review it during the tenancy whenever necessary. So there you have it. If you follow these steps we've outlined throughout this video, you'll give yourself the best chance to find and receive applications from as many qualified tenants as possible. And if that's something that you've been struggling with for a while, then we really recommend that you check out DoorLoop. Not only can it help you post your vacancies automatically on multiple listing websites, but it can also help you with background checks and other steps along the process of trying to find a good tenant. And if that's something that interests you, then you can sign up for a free demo at doorloop.com. But that about wraps things up. If you want to learn more about landlord reference letters, you can watch this video right here. We hope you found this video helpful, and don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos just like this. We'll see you soon.